actually have the two most complicated last names in the next couple days for you guys. So thank you so much for the time. I'm excited to be here with Karthik. We're going to just talk a little bit about what's going on in all things retail and specifically with Macy's. Right. So we thought we'd kick it off with, obviously, we all just came off of the retail season. There is a lot going on across retail channels. Lots of buzzy things we're going to talk about over the next couple days. But what was interesting, if you look back at holiday 2015, sort of spend by consumer was relatively flat from 2014 to 2015. Consumers spent on average about $800 during a holiday. Loyal Yahoo shoppers spent 10% more. Interesting fact. But up 12% year over year was the whole notion that someone actually bought something online. So people may have said it was sort of the year of mobile, but we've really gotten to the point where we're crossing a threshold of consumers actually using mobile to shop. So Karthik, talk to me a little bit about what are you seeing as far as opportunities to think about the consumer landscape and what Macy's is going to do in the upcoming year?
I'll start with mobile. I think everybody knows that mobile is here to stay. It's going to cross over this threshold. We've seen slides and slides from different partners within our own analytics teams. But I think the fundamental problem that I feel a lot of retailers and brands have is they don't come up to they refuse to make peace of the fact that it's going to impact your KPIs, right? It's going to have an impact on your conversion. It's going to mean that dollar signs are going to reduce. So I think there's a huge disconnect between what an entity means and what that dotted line is in terms of the impact to your business. So I think mobile and its impact is a huge problem. We've spoken about attribution, until the cows come home, especially for a retailer like Macy's. We pride ourselves in being an omni-channel retailer. So making sure that we know how our consumers interacting with us online, on our social outlets, and in store, and somehow connecting the dots through all of those is a big focus. We are investing a lot in that analysis and making sure that we are able to monetize that without saying a lot about it. But it's a big focus. And omni-channel, I feel it's one of those terms that gets used in a very just as a buzzword, and the fundamental piece behind that is omni-channel is what the customer sees, and you just have to figure out a way how you can align your silos within an organization to really cater to that. So it's not just technology. It's technology. It's customer service. It is creative. It's finance. It's operations. And bringing it all together, I think, is a huge challenge for large brands, especially like Macy's. I feel we are a great confluence of 150 years of technology and growth. IBM mainframes meeting cutting-edge push notifications is the way I say it. And that interaction has its own flux points. It has its own friction. There is friction when it comes to making integrations and technology viable. There is friction when it comes to getting mindsets changed in terms of how to look at something. I read a cool quote that said, "There is no such thing as a digital strategy anymore. There's just strategy in a digital world." And I really feel that it's true. And I feel those are the kind of things that we are really looking forward to. But we'd love to know what you are seeing in the market as well. I know you work a lot with retailers. You're pretty passionate. I know you personally, too. You're pretty passionate about e-commerce. What are you seeing in terms of the other retail entities?
Well, it's been interesting. So when we think about the conversations that we've had with clients like Macy's and others and how they've changed even over the last, I would say, sort of 12 months drastically, people do talk about omni-channel, but it's really about the consumer journey. And we spend a lot of time talking about what that means for us at Yahoo. And that's pulling together content and search and app-based experiences and sort of what consumers do along that. And everything, you all in the audience know this better even than I, but it's about the sort of the accountability and the transparency of what that means for your business. So it makes the conversations much more technical and a lot more about using data. One of the things we've started to do is we're actually allowing customers visibility into Yahoo data, whether that's the 1 billion plus users that use Yahoo email on a daily basis, and giving transparency into that, which for retail is pretty interesting. So that's very new for us, but I would say we're pretty excited about that for the year.
Excellent.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. You and I have talked a little bit about sort of using data, sort of customer data, and what that means for Macy's, as well as the cross-device story, and what does the cross-device graph mean? Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Obviously the customer is really important to us, and everybody says, customer centrality and all of that stuff. I really feel Macy's as an organization embodies that. Don't quote me on this, but I really feel Macy's executive teams would take a good review from a customer versus a sale. And it really, the customer experience means a lot, especially in store. Again, as we morph, as we evolve in this digital world, we have to start connecting that, again, in-store experience down to the digital side of things, where challenges that were net new to us, like cross-device attribution, customer targeting, are new things. Before, you had a sales associate walk up to somebody and say, how would you like us to help you? And now it's tough. I mean, especially when I deal with paid search, it's a non-addressable media. It's very hard to know one person from the other. So how do you look at what I would call digital signatures, or I know Carl spoke about emotions, but how do you really to kind of take out the emotions online and figure out how to personalize content? It's very, very hard. And we spent 30 minutes talking about how the brain reacts to it, and it really comes down to one thing. You have a very small portion of time to make a connection with the customer. And that's the way I look at it. I mean, gone are the days where brands can just open up their doors and expect customers to just kind of rushing in. Along with them, came the money. Now you have to vie for their 24 hours, whatever piece that they are actually awake for. And we talk about digital data consumption and content consumption. But with choice comes, again, to kind of go back to what Carl was saying about attention. We have a very minuscule amount of time to make an impact. So in essence, what I do is figure out a way how I can buy into a customer's life so that she can remember me for all of 5 minutes. So she'll at least come back to me, if not buy something right now. So a lot of the Yahoo data is relevant to us. We obviously do retargeting. We do a bunch of stuff in store. We look at abandoned cart. We do all of that wonderful stuff. But where we kind of get concerned about sometimes as a brand is where does that targeting, that advanced targeting, creep into the, oh my God, that's just way too creepy for me, right? Because the brand is so important for us. So that balance has been hard to forge. We are experimenting every day as much as we can. But with the sale, the perception is just as important, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Again, Yahoo has a wealth of data. Yeah. How do you, as Yahoo as an organization, or how do you recommend in terms of guidelines for retailers like ours to kind of balance that out? When does the data become too creepy?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of what we will look at is both sort of implicit and explicit. So if we think about our device graph, we know a lot about what consumers are doing, whether, again, that's on a Yahoo property or an app in our content experiences. And so it's those tangential things that we start to pull in that actually help make sort of more relevant advertising experiences. And we've done tons of studies to actually look at, if it's a relevant experience for me as a user within my content, I'm 50% more likely to engage with that. So, but there's a really fine line, especially with retargeting and some of the work there. At Yahoo specifically, we focus on a lot more of the sequential messaging and sort of consumer journey piece, going back to if I understand who you are and I have a relationship with you to some extent across your 5 devices in your home, what's a way I can interact with you that feels like authentic? And I think the authenticity is a really big piece. So. One thing I wanted to do is I want to transition a topic that's near and dear to Karthik's heart, which is search. So that is the penultimate, and from a retailer perspective, retailers were the first when it came to sort of investing in search and what that means. Talk to us a little bit about that for Macy's.
And the reason it's near and dear to my heart is I spent a lot of time in product in the early, long ago in my career. Search is always been the closest to the customer when it comes to digital data is the way I looked at it, because you get a wealth of information how the customer's thinking about what is really important to her or him. And in terms of us using search as a starting point of everything we do today, I mean, it seems like the fiber of what we do. So that's why it's near and dear to my heart. Macy's has the search program has grown very organically, in the sense that we start off really small. I've headed it up for about roughly 2 years now, and we really started using a lot of data insights. We hooked it up to a good Hadoop cluster. We can start visualizing and terabytes of data that we generate on a daily basis to really figure out how the customer is really interacting with us. It's allowed us to visualize things and proactively look at opportunities in terms of where we should invest more. We have a really robust relationship with Yahoo. We look at Yahoo as a huge, huge part of our growth for 2016 and beyond, primarily because, I mean, gone are the days, again, where we can just explicitly go and ask for a customer to buy something with us. It is becoming a lot more implicit. It is becoming about experiences. It is becoming a lot more about lifestyle and catering to what the customer really wants. And I said this in the town hall 20, 30 minutes ago. The customer has his or her patterns in terms of how she wants to interact with us. Not alone just Macy's, any brand. And all we can do as retailers is to be there for her when she's ready to make that purchase. It may be a purchase. She just wants validation for something. She wants to read a review. She's probably doing research for her friend. It could be anything and everything under the sun. But being there for her, be it through social, be it in store, through an associate, through something digital, digital in store or online, that's all you can do, and that's all you can ask for. And I feel search allows for that. It allows insight into how the customer is thinking, and we can take that insight and kind of spread that out across the other tactics or the other channels that we have available, and really start going towards sequencing that contact and really orchestrating, and then finally optimizing it.
Great, perfect. So one final question for Karthik. Let's talk about the rest of the year. So big challenge or opportunity that you think is going to hit both sort of Macy's and the industry overall in the year?
Ooh, loaded question. So I'll leave the press releases about Macy's aside. You guys can read up on it. But I feel that 2016 and 2017 is rife with opportunity. I do feel that there may be a slowing of the size of wallets, so to speak. A lot of different factors. I think there's a lot of uncertainty internationally with China, Europe. There's the election season coming up. But ultimately, as retailers, we want to really figure out how our investments really did, right? And I think 2016 would be one of those litmus tests, so to speak. And you'll kind of have a good read on how your platform, how your data, how your customer experience, all of that wonderful stuff that you have invested money in is truly paying off for you. Because if you can make a buck in a tough retail environment, you can make a buck when the retail environment is awesome, right? So it's a good time to keep experimenting. I think it's going to be even more crazier and complicated. We'll have to be a lot more nimble. We'll have to partner a lot more. So we'd love to kind of chat about opportunities where we can partner. But yeah, it's definitely in times of so-called not the greatest buying seasons, there's a lot of opportunity to kind of get better. And that's the way I feel about it. I feel Macy's in particular, we are investing in the right things. We feel that we are optimistic about our future, and I think that's how we should feel about retail in general.
Good. Agility. I think that's one thing we spend a lot of time with our partners talking about: content, tech, data, and bringing it all together. So thank you, Karthik, for spending the time.
We have about a minute for questions, if there are any.
Any questions for Karthik?
It's one up there. Oh, one back there.
Hi. So every speaker today or this afternoon has talked about delivering experiences. Search is inherently about product. So how are you connecting? How are you connecting Macy's search into something that's more experiential?
It's a good segue into some of the offerings that Yahoo has, but at the end of the day, it may be about selling a product, but I feel end of the day, what search also offers up to you is capturing intent. A good portion of our spend that we do right now in paid search especially does not necessarily go towards the top line sales. It is about understanding what customer really wants from us. And we take those insights, we'll partner with our SEO teams or our site merchandising teams and say, hey, we're seeing this. Be it a product-related thing, be it, as everybody knows, we no longer search for exact terms. We kind of go towards long tail, conversational, contextual searching, as publishers call it. So using that and figuring out what that really means and how we can change that to cater to our customers, I think what we do. Because at the end of the day, if you start looking at your entire portfolio or marketing spend as what's going right and what's going wrong, you can keep funding what's doing well and just making sure that you kind of eliminate what are the problem areas. And that's the way we look at it. So I'm not sure if that answered the question, but in essence, it's a lot more about intent than actually just selling something to the customer.
Great. Karthik, Courtney, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right. Coming up next, because it's getting close